So yeah, thanks for coming for the interview. I'm basically like gonna ask a couple questions. Like the whole point of this interview is, like to find any similarities that people had like when they're preparing, and so like people can actually make connections to like what a successful what a successful studying looks like or something like that. So
All
yeah.
right. Okay. Yeah.
So I'm gonna like ask a couple questions, and then after that I'm gonna like ask a couple questions from the interview. Like I had a Google form that people could sign.
Okay. That sounds great.
So here's the first one. So can you like give a timeline of like your physics Olympiad journey? So like what were you doing before physics Olympiads, and then like what books or resources you used after, and then like what accomplishments you received?
Okay. So, before I did physics Olympiad, I did like math competitions. I did the like AMC American Math Competitions. I did math counts in middle school.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I wasn't very successful in either of those, but I had a lot of fun doing problem solving, and so those are the things I did. In terms of science exposure, I did Science Olympiad in the U.S., which is like this. It's like this national middle school and high school competition where you kind of compete in all sorts of things from all fields of science. Um, and so that's something I did in middle school. And I really got started in Physics Olympiad at the end of eighth grade. So that's the end of middle school for me. I I remember like it was like this afternoon and we were solving this problem about a block slipping from a hemisphere, and I was doing it with my friends, and we were trying out different ways, and we finally solved it. And that's kind of what got me into it. Um, from like eighth grade to the start of high school, which is ninth grade for me, I like went to a tutoring place for physics. So
Uh huh.
um, it was like a one-on-one tutoring, and I basically kind of learned the calculus that you kind of need to know for physics, and I also learned sort of the like AP Physics One, AP Physics C, sort of like the school level physics that you might do in high school over the summer. Um,
Yeah.
and I think I got like a solid physics foundation and a solid like calculus foundation. Um, in the school year, I ended up doing in the school year of my ninth grade year, it was going to be like my first time going to take the FGOS MA exam, which is the first round for Physics Olympiad in the
Mm-hmm.
US. And so I took like a art of problem solving course, the FGOS MA problem series. Um, it was like in terms of cost, it was like I've heard from people that it's pretty expensive, but I actually found that course to be like really helpful, and
Yeah.
it helped a lot for FGOS MA preparation. And so um, partly because like I was like they had a lot of good problems that were really informative. But also like taking the live classes actually helped a lot because it kind of taught me how like instructors or like people who are experienced in doing physics might approach a problem. And so I got insights into like what were they thinking, like what are their motivations for like steps, like in like doing a problem.
Mm-hmm.
And so like the lectures ended up helping a lot. And so I that year, ninth grade year, I qualified for the U.S. Physics Olympiad, which is the second stage in the U.S. And
Nice. Nice.
fortunate. Oh, sorry. What was it?
I just think nice.
Oh, okay. Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it was canceled because of COVID. Um, and so that was tough. And then next year, when it was online, I actually failed to qualify for the U.S. Physics Olympiad again, which is pretty unfortunate. Um, I actually didn't really study physics a lot over COVID. I played a lot of games. But besides that, I would say like the biggest factor that I might attribute to not being able to qualify again would be that like I kind of lost connection to like a community of like other people who are doing physics. In my ninth grade year, like I used to like we had these conference blocks in the middle of school where we could like go to classrooms, ask teachers questions, and some of my friends and I would always like find a classroom or start doing physics problems, or like I would do like I would like go to the science bowl meetings, which is another competition at our school, and we would like have fun there. And so I think over COVID, I kind of lost that community, and then that kind of killed a lot of my motivation to study. And I think that's probably why I did not qualify next year. The year after that, I transferred to a new school. COVID was not as bad, and I and the school was a boarding school, so I think one, I did not play as many video games, um, and then I also found this kind of new community of physics students. Like I went to our school physics club. It was much smaller, but I kind of met people I knew who like to do physics problems, and that really like motivated me to study. And it actually motivated me to do a lot of more like self-studying. So my sorry, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I did 10th grade. Uh, I had my first 10th grade year where I failed to qualify for USAPhO, and then I repeated 10th grade when I transferred schools. So I don't know that I think that's kind of confusing, but
Oh, you repeated?
and then yeah, so I repeated it's when I transferred schools, mostly for sports, um, for the swim team. But yeah, like I repeated. So my second 10th grade year, I had a lot more motivation because I like it was like an in-person school. And like it was like there was there's not that much COVID, and I got to meet like a bunch of new people, and so I had a lot more motivation for self-studying. I ended up like completing Blue Morin, like the problems and solutions to Introductory Mechanics by David Morin. Like I finally completed that book after like 3 years of solving some problems from it. I did a lot of HRK for USAPhO preparation. And so that year, which was last year, my second 10th grade year, I ended up getting a gold medal in USAPhO, which is around like top 45 in the US every year, around that range.
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. Yeah. And uh, yeah, I remember like the block on the sphere problem. Like, was it like the angle that it falls off at or something?
Yeah. It's that problem. It's a lot of it was a lot of fun when we solved it the first time.
Yeah, I really liked it because it was like all these different types of physics concepts and all in one problem.
Yeah, I think all the prompts I saw before were like really easy prompts where like maybe you just applied one formula, plugged in the numbers, and you got your answer. Um, for that one, it was really cool to connect kind of the energy approach and as well as like the centripetal acceleration. I think that was a pretty cool problem.
Yeah, I agree. Because I used to do science one in like eighth grade, and then I didn't really like it because the physics is not that, you just plug and chug.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. Hey, here's another question. So, how do you approach learning new concepts? So, like, say you're like, I don't know, self-studying a book, and there's like this new section, and then you don't really know anything in it. So, how do you approach reading through the section or doing the problems in it?
Yeah, so I in April or trying to- in March when I was preparing for the US Physics Olympiad, I it was the first time I learned about um like um like Ohm's law. So
Yeah.
like E equals like rho J, sort of like that kind of idea. And I was reading it in HRK, and like when I'm approaching new concepts, if I'm reading a textbook, I definitely would like try to take notes, and try to get familiar with all the terminology first. I think that's definitely useful. Um, but I guess the biggest hurdle when you're trying to learn a new concept is trying to apply it to problems. Um, and so, okay, I don't know. I try to come up with a coherent answer, but I guess just like some like tips I have in my mind is that like if you're to learn a new concept, you'll probably learn about new formulas or like new ideas. And so for the new formulas, I would definitely try to like write it out, like write out the exact formula over and over again, so I can kind of like be used to that new concept. And for some like new concepts, like there'll be a lot of like heavy like derivations involved. Like for thermodynamics, I remember like there was like a section in HRK where they derived like the most probable speed in the Maxwell-Boltzmann distribution, and so for those, like when I'm learning a new concept, I would definitely try to go through step by step the derivation, and then maybe 1 or 2 days later, I would try to like redo the derivation. So I think that's pretty important for like all sorts of derivations, and then that'll also help you sort of reinforce the concepts and also help you like sort of memorize some of the important like ideas or concepts that you learned in like a new chapter or something like that. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and so like for problem solving, like I guess if you're not familiar with the concept, a majority of the problems, like some of the problems you might be able to solve, but some of the problems you definitely won't be able to solve. And a tip I learned from reading some textbooks is that when you're solving a problem and you just can't solve it, it's probably not a good idea to try to continue like trying to like think about the problem and like just like mulling over it for like hours on end. It's probably a good idea to look at the solution. But when you do look at the solution, sort of reveal the solution line by line by like maybe you cover it with a piece of paper or something like that. Um, and so like revealing this, you would reveal the solution until you have enough information to solve it based on some of the ideas that you already have when you're trying to solve the problem. And I feel like for me, that definitely helps a lot with like learning how to solve new problems without kind of just being fed the solution, but also identifying which parts of the solution I'm failing to come up with and like which parts I'm getting stuck on. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, because like I know people who just read the solution, they move on. Like they're not actually doing the problem by doing that, you know?
yeah, and then there's like no like kind of like even if you like read part of the solution and you try to solve it afterwards, there's still going to be that struggle on the second part where like you're really working your brain and not really just like looking at the solution.
Yeah. Okay. Here's another question. So this is from the Google survey. Um, how many hours did you spend preparing? Like in total?
That is very hard to answer.
Yeah, like give an
Um,
estimate, I guess.
I guess per day it would. I guess it really varies depending on like what you count as like how like what range of time I spend. Because there's some weeks where like I didn't spend any time at all because I had a lot of homework. But I would say per day or per week, probably recently like 6 or 7 hours. Um,
I see. Yeah.
um, but that's definitely not like an hour per day. It's a lot more like I had homework these 3 days, so I couldn't do any physics. But I had a lot of free time over the weekend, so I spent like 3 4 hours doing problems. I think it's not like I feel like it's not uniform. It's definitely more like in these chunks.
Okay. Yeah. Um, how did you integrate Olympiad preparation with the rest of your ongoing life? And then, if the intensity of did the intensity of preparation change as you approach exam dates? And that's kind of like what you said, but yeah.
Yeah, definitely. So I if I was doing on average like 6 7 hours per day, like like throughout the school year, if it was like winter break or Thanksgiving break, I that would definitely jump to like upwards of like 30 40 hours per week. Like during winter break, I definitely spent like basically all my time on doing physics because and watching anime, but mostly doing physics. Um, because I didn't have any schoolwork, and so when I did have like big exams, I would have no time to study physics. Um, and in terms of like managing with like the rest of my school life, I would say that like what I tried to do sometimes was like not get any sleep, and in order to like fit in doing physics and like, but that ended up resulting in like negative health effects. I was like tired during class. I was tired while I was doing physics, which is not a good idea. You really want to be like focused, like sharp when you're like doing problems. And so I would definitely not try to sacrifice your sleep or like your health in order to fit in more time to study.
Mm-hmm.
And because like the studying you're gonna do while feeling tired, while feeling sick, maybe it's not gonna be effective anyways. So yeah, and if physics is a big priority, I guess the hard truth is that like you'll need to sacrifice some things that you enjoy in order to study physics. Like for example, I did a lot of quiz bowl my fall term in school, but winter was when like the AFCO's MA exam was, and like the beginning of spring was basically the USAPhO USA Physics Olympiad exam, and so I ended up not going to a lot of quiz bowl meetings or going to a lot of quiz bowl tournaments. And quiz bowl is just like another competition, so it's another activity.
Yeah.
And so that I guess that's something that I had to sacrifice in order to make time for physics.
I see. Yeah, I feel like you covered most of the questions here. This one is, yeah, this might be the last one, but this is a kind of sad one though. If you ever failed to live up to your expectations in your journey, how did you deal with it and move on?
Wait, sorry, if I ever fail to what?
Live up to your expectations in your journey, how did you deal with it and move on?
Yeah, so there was one point where I did fail to meet my expectations, which was my first 10th grade year.
Yeah.
It was like during COVID. I did not make the second round of the physics Olympiad again, which is very sad. In terms of coping, what I first tried to do was just ignore it. So I like played so much Minecraft. Like, oh my God, I played so much Minecraft. Like I was like putting in like 9 hour sessions,
Nice. Oh, wow.
like every day. Like, so it was, yeah, it's not good. And I guess one way that I like coped with it was I found other people who were like interested in doing the activity as well. Because I feel like when I didn't make USAPhO, I felt like oh my God, like I'm like I put in all this time and it wasn't worth it, and like like my mindset kind of shifted towards like I didn't get the results I wanted, and so like it felt like a waste of time. But like really like when you're doing physics, like you're probably not thinking about like doing well in the competition at the end of the day. You're probably thinking about like, wow, the problem I just solved was really cool, or I just learned something that was really cool. And so to sort of shift my mindset away from that kind of result oriented thinking, one of the things that helped was like meeting new people at my new school who were also interested in physics.
Yeah.
Because like you're not gonna talk to them like, oh, like what was your FCO's MA score, or like how many how many problems did you solve on USAPhO? Like that's not what you're gonna be talking about. You're gonna be talking about like, hey, maybe like yo, Dylan, did you see this cool problem or something? Or like you're gonna go to physics club and you're gonna be solving these poly problems. And so I think finding other people who are interested in physics because it's fun to do physics will help you kind of move on from like failure. So
Mm-hmm.
that was a really long answer. I don't know if that was really coherent, but I would say like find people who will also share your interests, and they'll help you move on.
Yeah, sounds good. So you'd say, what do you say, like going to physics club also like helped you improve? Like was there like one main contributor or like one of them?
I would say like the way our physics club is, or I had two physics club at two different schools. The way my first school's physics club was that it's more like layman lectures where they talk about kind of like cool, like kind of above high school level topics like quantum mechanics, or like relativity, and try to like frame it in a way that like high schoolers can understand. And so I would say not really, that wouldn't really benefit me in terms of like Olympiad preparation, but it would definitely benefit me in terms of motivation and like my drive to learn physics if I suddenly know about all these cool things that I will one day be able to fully understand if I continue studying physics.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, That sounds good. Yeah. I run a physics club at my school, and like we do both. Like we do, we cover like stuff in quantum mechanics, but we also do like Olympiad preparation. But
Yeah,
yeah.
and then like yeah, and then I think those like lectures my freshman year before COVID, they were like definitely a big inspiration into studying physics.
Hmm. Yeah. I guess that's it for the interview then.
All right, okay, sick. Thank you for having me.